You're taking the plunge into the EV world. Awesome.
Yeah.
But figuring out the charging situation can feel, well, a little overwhelming.
Definitely. It's a whole new world, but we're going to break it down in this deep dive. AC and DC charging, we've got you covered.
Consider this your cheat sheet. By the end, you'll be an EV charging pro.
Absolutely. A lot of people get confused, but really, it's not that complicated once you grasp the basics.
Okay, so let's start with those basics then. What exactly are AC and DC charging?
So, simply put, your EV battery needs DC, direct current, to juice up, but the power coming from your house, that's AC alternating current.
Okay, yeah.
So with AC charging, your car, it has this built-in charger that converts the AC power from the grid into DC for the battery.
Gotcha. So it's kind of like when I plug my phone into the wall.
All right.
My house is AC, but the phone charger, it does that conversion to DC.
Exactly. And just like, you have those different types of phone chargers, the ones that come with the phone, and then those bigger, faster ones, there are different levels of AC and DC charging.
Oh, interesting. Levels. Okay, so let's dive into AC charging first. That's what I'd be using at home, most likely.
Yeah, for sure. AC charging is what you'll use day to day, especially level 1 and level 2.
Level 1 and level 2. All right, so I'm already leveling up my EV skills.
Yeah. Think of level 1 as the most basic. It uses your standard 120-volt outlet, the kind you have all over your house.
Okay.
It works, it gets the job done, but it's going to be slow, like really slow. Imagine trying to fill a bathtub with like a tiny little spoon.
Yeah, not ideal if I need to charge up in a hurry.
Right. If you need speed, level 2 is the way to go. It uses a 240-volt outlet, like the one for your dryer.
Oh, okay.
Much faster charging. Like now you're using a proper faucet to fill that bathtub, not a spoon.
Okay, so level 2 is like the fast charger for my phone then. Faster, but still something I can have at home.
Exactly. And if you can, it's worth getting it installed, especially if you have a large battery or, drive a lot.
Makes sense. So level 2 at home seems like the way to go if I'm just zipping around town. What are some other perks of going with AC charging?
Well, aside from being compatible with your home's setup, it's usually cheaper than DC fast charging. And it's pretty much everywhere. Most EVs come with a level 1 charger, and level 2 chargers are like popping up everywhere, homes, workplaces, public spots.
Sounds pretty convenient. But what about those times when I need a quick charge? Or say I'm going on a road trip. Is AC still the best?
That's where DC charging comes in. It's like instead of going through your car's internal charger, you're giving it a direct hit of DC power straight to the battery.
So like plugging my EV directly into a power source that's like specifically made for its battery.
Exactly. And because there's no conversion needed, DC charging, particularly level 3, can deliver a really powerful charge in a short amount of time.
Oh, okay. So tell me more about this level 3 DC charging then.
Level 3 is what we call fast charging or even supercharging. It's what you see at those charging stations along the highways. We're talking about adding like 100 miles of range in just half an hour.
Wow. Yeah, that's way faster than anything I could get at home. But I have a feeling there's got to be a trade-off, right? DC fast charging can't be perfect.
Well, yeah, there are some things to consider. DC fast chargers, they need a lot of power and special equipment, so installing and maintaining them, it's not cheap.
I see. So that's probably why we don't see them as much as those level 2 chargers. What else should I know about the downsides of DC fast charging?
There's some concern about, as more and more people switch to EVs, whether the grid can handle all that DC fast charging.
Makes sense.
And here's something else. If you use DC fast charging all the time, it can actually affect your battery's lifespan.
Oh, interesting. So maybe not the best for the battery or the grid if I use it constantly. Sounds like it's all about finding the right balance then. AC and DC charging, depending on what I need.
You got it. It's like you wouldn't use a hammer to try and screw in a light bulb, right? You wouldn't just rely on DC fast charging if you're mostly driving short distances.
Right. So AC for my everyday driving, and then DC for when I need a quick boost or I'm heading out on a longer trip.
Exactly. Just like having a toolbox, different tools for different jobs. Having both AC and DC charging gives you the flexibility you need as an EV driver. It's interesting, right, how these different charging methods, they kind of play into the bigger picture of, EVs becoming more popular.
Right, yeah.
We've talked about how they work for us, for drivers, but what about the impact on the electrical grid itself?
Okay, yeah, that makes sense. As more and more people start driving electric, what are some of the challenges that poses for the grid?
Well, think about it. More EVs means a much bigger demand for electricity, right?
Right.
And if everyone plugs in at the same time, especially for those DC fast charges, it could really overload the system.
Like if everyone gets home from work and immediately plugs into a DC fast charger.
Yeah,
That'd be like a huge power surge, right?
exactly. And that can lead to blackouts or brownouts. Nobody wants that.
Yeah, definitely not. So how do we prevent that from happening?
Well, it's about having a smart approach to the charging infrastructure. And some clever technology comes into play, too.
Okay.
Having a mix of AC and DC charging options helps. It kind of spreads out the load on the grid.
Okay.
So, for example, if you mostly charge at home overnight using level 2 AC charging, you're using electricity when demand is lower.
So it's like, I don't know, doing your laundry late at night when electricity is cheaper.
Exactly. You're not adding to that peak demand. And then there are these advancements in, like, smart charging technology that can help even more.
Okay, smart charging.
Imagine a system where your car actually communicates with the grid, you know, and automatically adjusts how fast it charges based on the overall demand.
So my car would know when to charge to avoid putting too much stress on the grid.
Yeah. Like I said, smart charging. And it's not, sci-fi stuff. This technology is already being developed. Some utility companies, they offer these time of use rates, like cheaper electricity during off-peak hours.
Okay.
Smart charging can take advantage of that, you see.
So it charges when it's both cheaper and less impactful on the grid.
Exactly. Really smart, right?
Yeah. Sounds like this kind of technology is going to be really important for making the whole switch to electric cars smoother.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And it gets even more interesting when you think about things like, what's it called? Vehicle-to-grid technology, V2G.
V2G, right. We talked about that a little earlier, but I'm still not quite clear on how it works.
So basically, with V2G, your EV can not only take power from the grid, but it can also send power back.
Oh, wow.
It's like your car becomes a mobile energy storage unit.
So my car could actually power my house or like send energy back to the grid.
Yeah, kinda. Imagine your EV is fully charged, and then, say there's a heat wave, and everyone's blasting their AC and the grid is struggling. With V2G, your car could send some of its stored energy back, helps stabilize the grid, prevents blackouts, all that.
Wow, that's incredible. It's like my car becomes this giant battery backup for the whole neighborhood.
Yeah.
But wouldn't that drain my car's battery?
That's what people worry about, yeah. But V2G systems, they're designed to be smart about it.
Okay.
They only discharge a certain amount, making sure you still have enough to drive. And you can even set limits, like tell it to stop discharging when the battery reaches a certain level.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
I have to say, this whole EV charging thing is a lot more complex than I initially thought. I mean, it's not just plugging in your car. It's about these different levels and the impact on the grid and all this technology that helps us make smarter choices about energy.
Yeah. It's pretty fascinating stuff, actually. And it's constantly evolving, too.
It is. It really feels like we're the beginning of a huge shift in how we think about energy and transportation.
Oh, absolutely. And in the final part of our deep dive, we'll look at how different cities and countries are tackling this EV charging thing and some of the really groundbreaking advancements that are shaping the future of this whole electric world.
All right, so we've talked about like all the nuts and bolts of AC and DC charging and how EVs impact the grid. We even touched on, cars becoming mini power plants.
Yeah, pretty wild stuff.
It is. But how's all of this actually playing out in the real world? I mean, what are different places doing to deal with this whole EV charging infrastructure thing?
Well, the interesting thing is there's no one solution that works for everyone.
Okay.
Different cities, different countries, they're all trying different things. Some are going big on public charging networks. Others are pushing for more charging at home. It's like a giant puzzle, and everyone's trying to figure out where their pieces fit.
Makes sense. So give me some examples. Who's doing this well?
Norway, they're like the superstars of the EV world.
Oh, yeah. I've heard about that.
They have more EVs per person than anywhere else. And a big reason for that is they just went all in on charging infrastructure early on. A mix of AC and DC, lots of fast chargers along their highways.
So you can basically road trip across Norway in an EV without any worries.
Pretty much.
That's impressive. But what about, closer to home? What are cities in the U.S. doing?
The U.S. is catching up for sure. California's been leading the way. They've got all these policies to encourage installing chargers in homes, at work, public places. They even have rules like new buildings have to include EV charging.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. They're serious about making EVs work for everyone.
It sounds like it. What about other parts of the country?
There's cool stuff happening everywhere. Some cities are trying out those solar-powered charging stations, so they're not so reliant on the grid.
Oh, right.
Others are working with private companies to build out their charging networks, giving businesses incentives to install chargers. And we're starting to see these charging hubs popping up, like, think gas stations, but for EVs.
Yeah.
Lots of fast chargers, places to grab a bite to eat, shops, all that.
It's great. It really seems like, things are moving in the right direction toward this world where charging your EV is as easy as filling up your gas tank.
Yeah.
But okay, let's talk about the future. What's next? What could really take all of this to the next level?
Ultra-fast charging. It's the next big thing.
We talked about DC fast charging, which is already pretty fast.
Right, but imagine chargers that can give you like hundreds of miles of range in just a few minutes. That's ultra-fast charging.
Wow. That sounds almost impossible. But wouldn't our electrical grids need a massive upgrade to handle that?
That's the big challenge. It would require, a lot of work on the infrastructure, both the grid's capacity and the technology at the charging stations.
Yeah.
But think about the possibilities. Imagine stopping for a coffee and boom, you got enough juice for a couple 100 miles. Road trips would be so easy.
That would be amazing. What else is on the horizon then, in the world of EV charging?
That V2G technology we discussed. Bidirectional charging.
Right.
It's not just a concept anymore. Some car companies are already making EVs that can do it. And they're running pilot programs, to see how it works in the real world.
Right. It's that whole thing where your car can not only charge from the grid, but send power back.
Yeah.
I can see how that'd be a game changer, especially as we rely more on things like solar and wind power, which, aren't always available when you need them.
Exactly. V2G could be a key part of making the grid more reliable, and it would help us move away from those fossil fuels.
It really is amazing to see how all of this is developing. So what's the takeaway for someone thinking about switching to an EV? What do they need to know?
I think the main thing is, don't worry. The future of EV charging is looking really good. As the tech gets better and there are more chargers everywhere, it'll just keep getting easier and cheaper to charge your EV. There might be some bumps along the way, but honestly, I think all these innovations, they're showing us that an electric future is within reach.
I love that. That's really reassuring. So to wrap up our deep dive here, any final thoughts for our listeners who are, ready to join the electric revolution?
Switching to an EV, it's a journey. Do your research, figure out which charging options work best for you, and choose an EV and a charging setup that fits your life and how you drive. And remember, you're not just changing your car, you're becoming part of something much bigger. You're helping build a cleaner, more sustainable future for everyone.
Well said. There you have it, folks. You are now officially EV charging experts. Go out there, charge with confidence, and enjoy the ride. We'll see you on our next deep dive.
Please like this video and subscribe to our channel. For more detail, you can visit our blog website www.evergreentechtips.com.